David sat in the back row of the small church, his worn Bible resting on his lap. He was not a handsome man. His face bore the scars of childhood illness, and his clothes were simple and old. He worked as a cleaner at the local hospital, earning just enough to pay for his tiny room and put food on his table. But David had something special. He had a heart full of love for God, and that love overflowed to everyone around him. Every Sunday, he would see her, Grace. She sang in the church choir, her voice like honey, her smile bright enough to light up the whole room. Grace was beautiful. Everyone said so. She had smooth skin, long dark hair, and eyes that sparkled when she laughed. David never thought someone like Grace would notice him, but he prayed for her every single day. He prayed that God would bless her, protect her, and guide her steps. One Sunday, after the service ended, David gathered his courage. His hands shook as he walked toward Grace, who was talking with some friends near the church entrance. "Excuse me, Sister Grace," David said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Grace turned and looked at him. Her friends also turned, and David felt their eyes judging him. His old shoes, his patched jacket, his scarred face. "Yes?" Grace said, her tone polite but distant. I just wanted to say that your singing today was beautiful. God really used you to bless us all." Grace smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you, Brother David." He nodded and quickly walked away, his heart pounding. He had spoken to her. That was enough for today. Weeks passed. David continued to pray for Grace. He watched her from afar, never bothering her, never making her uncomfortable. But his love for her grew, not a selfish love, but the kind of love the Bible spoke about, patient, kind, hopeful. One day, David felt God telling him to do something bold. After much prayer and fasting, he wrote Grace a letter. In it, he poured out his heart. "Dear Sister Grace, I hope this letter finds you well. I have been praying about this for many weeks, and I believe God is leading me to speak to you from my heart. I know I am not the kind of man that people admire. I know I am not handsome or wealthy, but I love God with all my heart, and I promise to serve Him all the days of my life. Grace, I have feelings for you. I have been praying for you every day. I see your kindness, your love for worship, and your beautiful spirit. I believe God brought you into my life for a reason. I am not asking you to give me an answer now. I am just asking you to pray about it. If God shows you that I am not the one, I will accept it with peace. But if He shows you that we should walk this journey together, I promise to love you the way Christ loves the church. Your brother in Christ, David." He folded the letter carefully and placed it in an envelope. The next Sunday, with trembling hands, he gave it to Grace after the service. "Please," he said softly, "just read it when you have time and pray about it." Grace took the envelope, looking surprised. "Okay, Brother David, I will." That evening, Grace sat in her room holding the letter. She had read it 3 times already. Part of her was touched. David's words were gentle and sincere. She could feel his honesty. But another part of her felt embarrassed. David, the hospital cleaner with the scarred face and old clothes? What would people say? Just then her phone rang. It was her best friend, Monica. "Grace, I'm outside. Come out, let's talk." Grace went outside and sat with Monica in her car. Monica was the kind of friend who always had opinions about everything. What Grace should wear, who she should date, what job she should take. "You look troubled," Monica said. "What's wrong?" Grace hesitated, then pulled out David's letter. "Someone from church gave me this." Monica snatched the letter and began reading. Her eyes grew wide, and then she burst out laughing. "David, the ugly cleaner? Girl, are you serious?" Monica laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes. "Grace, you are beautiful. You can have any man you want. Doctors, businessmen, lawyers. And this poor ugly man thinks he has a chance with you?" Grace felt uncomfortable. "Monica, he seems like a good person." "A godly person." "Godly?" Monica scoffed. "Grace, wake up. Godly doesn't pay bills. Godly doesn't buy you a nice house or take you on vacation. You need a man with money, with status, with good looks. Don't let this church talk fool you. You deserve better than David." Grace's heart was torn. Deep down, something told her that Monica was wrong. But Monica's words were loud and convincing. Over the next few days, Monica kept calling Grace, mocking David, making jokes about his appearance, his job, his poverty. Slowly, Grace's heart began to harden. 2 weeks later, Grace saw David at church. He looked at her with hopeful eyes. After the service, he approached her gently. "Sister Grace, did you have time to read my letter?" Grace looked around to make sure no one was listening. She didn't want to be seen having a serious conversation with David. "Yes, I read it," she said coldly. David's heart leaped. "And what do you think?" Grace took a deep breath. The words Monica had planted in her mind came rushing out. "David, I appreciate your honesty, but I have to be honest too. I don't see you that way. You're a nice person, but we're from different worlds. I need someone who can provide for me, someone who fits better with my life." David felt like someone had punched him in the chest, but he kept his composure. "I understand," he said quietly. "Thank you for your honesty. I will continue to pray for you." As he walked away, Grace felt a strange emptiness inside her. But she pushed it away. Monica was right. She deserved better. Months passed. Grace started dating a man named Richard. He was everything Monica said Grace deserved: handsome, wealthy, confident. He drove a nice car and took Grace to expensive restaurants. At first, Grace was happy. Richard seemed perfect. But slowly, she began to see the cracks. Richard rarely came to church. When he did come, he spent the whole time on his phone. He didn't pray with Grace. He didn't read the Bible. When Grace tried to talk to him about God, he would change the subject. "Grace, relax," he would say. "You're too religious. Life is meant to be enjoyed." Richard also had a temper. When things didn't go his way, he would yell. He spoke rudely to waiters and security guards. He was arrogant and selfish. But Grace convinced herself that she could change him. Monica kept encouraging her to stay with Richard. "All men have flaws," Monica said. "At least Richard has money. At least he's handsome. That's what matters." While Grace struggled in her relationship, David continued to grow in his faith. He joined a Bible study group and started volunteering at an orphanage. He poured all his love and energy into serving God. One day, the hospital where David worked was visited by a wealthy businessman who was doing charity work. The man's name was Mr. Thompson, and he was a Christian. Mr. Thompson noticed how David worked, with joy, with excellence, with kindness to everyone. He asked to speak with David. "Young man," Mr. Thompson said, "I've been watching you. You work like you're working for the Lord, not for men." David smiled humbly. "Sir, that's exactly what I'm doing." Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." Mr. Thompson was impressed. "David, I own a cleaning company. I need someone with your heart and work ethic to be a manager. Would you be interested?" David couldn't believe it. Within a month, he had a new job with a good salary. He was able to move to a better apartment and buy nicer clothes. But David remained humble. He didn't let the promotion change his heart. He still sat in the back row at church. He still prayed for Grace, even though she had rejected him. 1 year after Grace started dating Richard, everything fell apart. Richard lost his job due to his bad attitude and dishonesty at work. His true character came out. He started asking Grace for money. When she couldn't give him what he wanted, he became verbally abusive. One night, during an argument, Richard raised his hand to hit Grace. She ran out of his house, tears streaming down her face. She sat in her car, sobbing. For the first time in months, she prayed. "God, I'm sorry," she cried. "I was foolish. I listened to the wrong voice. I rejected a good man because of pride and fear. Please forgive me." That night, Grace broke up with Richard. She also stopped listening to Monica, who had led her astray with worldly advice. Months passed. Grace was single again, but she was healing. She dove deeper into her relationship with God, attending Bible study and prayer meetings. One Sunday, she saw David at church, but something was different. He was sitting near the front now, and there was a woman beside him, a kind-looking woman with a gentle smile. Grace's heart sank. After the service, she learned from others that David was engaged. The woman's name was Ruth. She was a missionary who had recently joined the church. She and David had met at the Bible study group, and their relationship had blossomed naturally. Grace watched from a distance as David and Ruth talked and laughed together. She saw the way David looked at Ruth, with the same gentle, godly love he had once offered to Grace. Tears filled Grace's eyes. She had rejected the very thing she now longed for. A few weeks before David's wedding, Grace gathered her courage. She needed to speak to him, not to try to win him back, but to ask for forgiveness. She approached him after church one Sunday. "David, can I talk to you for a moment?" David looked surprised but nodded kindly. "Of course, Sister Grace." They walked to a quiet corner of the church compound. Grace's voice trembled. "David, I need to say I'm sorry. I was foolish. I rejected you not because you weren't good enough, but because I listened to the wrong people. I looked at the outside, your appearance, your job, your status, but I didn't see what really mattered, your heart for God. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I mocked your godly love, and now I see what I lost. I see the kind of man you are, and I realize I let something precious slip away. David listened quietly, his face full of compassion. Grace, he said gently, I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago. When you rejected me, I was hurt, yes. But I gave that hurt to God. I prayed for you then, and I still pray for you now. You deserve Ruth, Grace said, wiping her tears. She's blessed to have you. David smiled. And God has someone for you too. Grace, someone who will love you the way you deserve. But you have to trust God's timing, not the world's standards. Grace nodded, her heart breaking but also feeling lighter. Thank you, David. Thank you for showing me what real, godly love looks like. David and Ruth's wedding was simple but beautiful. The church was filled with people whose lives David had touched, the orphans he had helped, the co-workers he had encouraged, the church members he had served. Grace attended the wedding. It hurt to watch David marry someone else, but she knew it was right. She prayed for their marriage, asking God to bless them abundantly. As she sat in the church, watching David and Ruth exchange vows, Grace learned a powerful lesson. True love, godly love, is not about appearance or wealth or status. It's about character. It's about faithfulness. It's about honoring God. She had mocked David's godly love, and now it was too late. But Grace didn't stay in regret. She used her pain as a lesson. She stopped listening to toxic friends who gave worldly advice. She stopped judging people by their outward appearance. She started seeking God's will in every decision. 2 years later, Grace met a man named Samuel at a church conference. Samuel was a humble teacher with a heart for God. He wasn't wealthy or extraordinarily handsome, but he loved Jesus deeply. This time, Grace didn't listen to the voices of the world. She listened to God. She and Samuel built a relationship on prayer, mutual respect, and shared faith. When Samuel proposed, Grace said yes with a full heart. On her wedding day, as Grace walked down the aisle, she saw David and Ruth sitting in the congregation, smiling at her with genuine joy. Grace smiled back, tears of gratitude in her eyes. She had learned her lesson. She had lost David's godly love because of pride and foolishness. But God, in His mercy, had given her another chance at love, a godly love she would never take for granted again. Lesson: don't judge people by outward appearance or worldly standards. A godly heart is worth more than gold. Listen to God's voice, not the voice of toxic friends. And remember, true love is patient, kind, and rooted in faith. Don't mock it, or you might realize its value too late. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7,